What's up, everybody? It's your boy, the Italian Stallion, ready for another episode of Rebels with a Cause. Want to apologize to everybody. Been a very busy week, and for all of our friends and neighbors in our states that here in Tennessee, North Carolina, South Carolina, Georgia, Virginia, Florida especially, anybody that was affected by this hurricane. That's what I do for a living, and when you take 1,000 claims and you've been really doing as much work as I have and so forth, it really kind of takes away that's kind of going on forth. But I want to apologize for coming on late tonight. Want to apologize to our guest who he is backstage, he's ready to go and so forth. So right now I'm just kind of just making sure that we have everybody ready to go. Thanks for tuning in. If you catch it live, great. If you catch it recorded, please hit that like and subscribe button. Just got a lot to talk about tonight, and also want to talk to our guest who has taken the time out of his busy day to join us tonight. And I'm so excited because I love this guy. He was such a big part of that 2004 championship team that just got honored a couple of weeks back against Central. So we're going to talk about that. Also got to recap the homecoming game that by that hurricane got delayed to Saturday. A lot of the games did because of school being out on Friday. Got to talk about that big one coming up this Friday against Alcoa, and I know that he'll break it down with us and so forth. So, lo and behold, I just want to make sure that I got some house cleaning to do, that more importantly, that the views and opinions of this program are not affiliated with those of any other organization or of West High School. This is solely the RWAC Crew's views, whether it's Two-Pair Tate, Brian Tate, myself, the Italian Stallion, the coach, Shane McGee. That is just what we talk about. It's all for love. It's all for the passion of being rebels with a cause. Want to also give a shout out to our guy, Alex Thatcher, who has that wonderful coffee brew business down there off Sutherland Avenue, there in the heart of Marble City, Knoxville Coffee Company. Definitely go pay him a visit, and definitely let him know that you got there because of Rebels with a Cause. Him and his dad with that cause, making that brew that's good any time of the day. And also want to give a shout out to my gals over at the King's Chamber, Miss Kim Castle and Miss Rachel Davis. Go pay them a visit there off of the Pike. They got manicures going now. And so pedicure is going to be coming next week, along with all the other things that they offer. So go give them a call. You can schedule a time. The only time they're closed is Tuesday. So definitely go pay them a visit. With that being said, I want to bring on my co-host as possible and get on our special guest who deserves a very proper introduction. But let me bring on my esteemed colleagues. First, want to bring on the coach who obviously is finishing up his time coaching. I think the season's wrapping up for him, so hopefully he can get a little bit of other stuff done. I know he's got a lot going on, full-time dad, and definitely love that he's part of our show. My brother, the coach, Shane McGee. What is up, man?
What's up? What's up? What's up? Yep. So this week was a little weird with football. So because of all the delays and everything, our game this week got pushed to after fall break for both 6th, 7th, and 8th grade. So not many kids at practice tonight. They're all off next week. And then we've got Austin East Thursday for 7th and 8th grade, and I've got Hardin Valley on Saturday.
So I stand corrected. The season's not over. They were also affected by the hurricane and things getting pushed back. So
and then we got playoffs.
Playoffs? You're talking about playoffs? Come on now. So sure.
I think 2 of my teams in the playoffs, and they're pretty good. This game this week determines seeding for both my 7th and 8th grade teams. So
that's awesome.
If we win, we're 4th. If we lose, we're 7th.
So that's a big change in the seedings right there of who you're going to face and everything of that nature. So, well, you know that the show's got your support, and we hope you come out with that dub because that's what it's all about and so forth. So for sure. So want to also bring on my other co-host. I think he's ready to go and so forth. He obviously needs no introduction, but I give it to him anyway because it's all part of the love. He is our Mr. 2003 West forever and ever. He's also the voice of the running Rebels and Lady 19 plus years, going to be starting a gig with Pelissippi's basketball team, and hopefully has a long, illustrious career being the voice of, I think they're the Panthers. I'm not sure, but yeah, they're the Panthers. So that's how much I, kind of in tune. So, but glad that anybody better for that role. So, but I want to bring him on. He's my favorite. Their Seminole, as always, the one, the only two-pair Tate. Brian Tate, what is up, brother? How you doing?
Doing good, man. Doing good. You guys are doing great, man. And man, it's I didn't get to watch much of the game. I think I watched it on Diamond Clear, like the repeat of it.
Yeah.
Man, like they put together a really good game, like, but when we talked about it last week, it is up against the upper echelon team. Counties, the Powell, the Maryvilles. Where do we stack with those teams?
Yep.
You know what I mean? Like, we saw what we were against Central, but that first half looked shaky.
Mm-hmm.
And then it was the defense and the special teams and the field position that put them in the groove. But have we seen them play a complete football game up against the upper echelon talent?
I would argue that you've not even seen them play a complete football game against any of the teams they've played on their schedule. That's a hot take.
I think they're close, but it's like they have a ton of talent. Like I tell those guys all the time, like Friend, Tavion Ray, McAllister, Rucker, Parker, Dubon, Hank, Harrison. Like, you guys are talented as per nine. You guys are talented as hell. Jack Key, White, you guys are very talented. But it's all about putting all that talent together for you. That's all.
Yeah, no, you preach, brother, preach, and that needs to be talked about. And I want to talk about that game. I also want to bring on our esteemed guest who's been waiting patiently backstage for his moment, and he deserves it. And I want to give him the proper introduction, whether he watched the game or not on Diamond Clear Media, because I have a lot to discuss with him. Because I feel this team is at the same crossroads as the 2014 team was at this point in the season, where they were winning games and winning with a very large margin, but it was like there was something missing. And and he probably doesn't remember it, but there was a little bit of an argument between the skill players and the offensive line, and then something just clicked in a particular game where it ended up being where they scored 63 points in one half, and they just took out their anger rather on each other against another team that just happened to be William Blount. And from there, they just rolled and kicked ass. And I would love for that to happen against another Blount County team in Alcoa, who is coming in, with only one loss, a lot to play for, and realistically, this is going to be Alcoa's last test before they have Maryville in a couple of weeks. So realistically, you were saying, two pair, where do we stack against the upper echelon teams? And we're going to find out very shortly on Friday night where we stack up, especially against an Alcoa team that was the only team to beat you in the last couple of years, whether you had injuries or not. I know that the Rebels have been banged up. We've had some key guys that are missing. Hopefully they're back. And if they're not, next man up. Somebody needs to step it up and look and make it be known that we don't bow down or, basically anybody. So we've got to bring it this Friday night against a team that would love to whip us just as worse than what Maryville did a couple of weeks ago. But that being said, I want to bring him on because this guy, I want to say that he never got the glory as much as his fellow seniors did. You've heard of the Max Bacon. You've heard of all them, and obviously his good buddy, the one, the great, the only Nathan Cottrell. But truth be told, more than anything, they had a celebration dance that I love for him to talk about. It mimicked Patrick Swayze lifting Jennifer every time that he opened up a hole for him to score a touchdown. And he was really line as well as a captain on that special team in 2014. Went on to play UT Chattanooga. He was handing out pancakes all the time that senior year to anybody he went up against. And most importantly, he was known as the mini fridge Perry. So I want everybody, wherever you're at, watching this live or recorded, give him his proper due and give him a warm Rebels with a Cause introduction. The one, the only Ryan Mini Fridge Perry. What's up, brother? How you doing?
Good, good. Thanks for having me.
The mini fridges made it to
brother,
the oh
Man, I don't know if I deserved all that, but I'll take it.
the mini
Hey,
fridge.
you want to know why you deserve that? You want to know why you deserve that? Because I know Two Pair has the first question to ask, but I want to just say this real quick. That skill players, as fast as they were, as special as they were, it don't happen if you big uglies up front don't open up them damn holes like you did and put people on their asses. And that's what I want to see from this team when you have 4 starters come back on offensive line. And I'm hoping that maybe you can put something out there for them so they can actually be the mean hog mollies I know they can be and bust somebody's ass. Honestly. So, and it starts this Friday against a former teammate and some other big uglies on the other side there at Alcoa and the Halls and the Anderson County and the Powells. And we can go on and on and on of what we've got coming up. But it started with you, and you absolutely deserved that praise, brother. You and Keyshawn and all them dudes. And it started up front, and I can't wait to hear those stories of how that all came together. Because you even had a good offensive line in 2013 that fell short, you know? But you had a great coach. I want you to talk about him and his role. But first and foremost, though, Two Pair, ask that question we ask every guest to get this thing going.
I'm ready. I'm ready for it, brother.
You already know what we're going to ask.
Yep.
So, in the time that you've been playing football, Mr. Ryan Perry, who was the first person to bust your ass?
So I actually have the same exact answer as Nathan.
Okay.
I'm sure that I had a couple like in-game sophomore year, but the friendly fire hits a little different. So, man, one day board drills. Zach Stewart steps up. Who wants it? And I'm a sophomore. I've been working my ass off. Yeah, he got me. So I'm feeling all right. Like I'm gonna take it. So I step up and I beat him. Come off. He's not expecting it. Like I roll him. And then all of a sudden he is losing his mind, calling me back onto the board. Like I'm terrified. I'm trying to play it cool. And I've never felt more like a child in my entire life. It was quick, it was ugly, and the entire team was watching. So Zach Stewart, kudos to you. You whooped my ass. And then the other one, man, that was a consistent basis. Big Lakin Smith. I genuinely felt like he hated me. I think it was just like I was a little brother that he was trying to lift up. But at practice, it felt like every day he wanted to embarrass me while he was there. So those two, Zach Stewart and Lakin.
I got 2 quick thoughts before we continue.
All right.
First off, number 1, Zach Stewart was a bad dude. I could just see him revving up because before games he would be doing this number, and it's like he's gonna freaking rip somebody's head off. I mean, there's gonna be a 187 about to happen on that field, honestly. So where is he? We need that guy on the show. If you can find him,
he would have some stories.
Oh my gosh! And you want to know something? Like you talk about Lakin too. How hard was that for that team to have one of your best offensive linemen tear his damn knee up right before the season starts? I mean, just imagine how special that team could have been if Lakin was available all year long, because the line did pretty good despite not having Lakin. So
for sure, yeah. I mean, going into spring, I was left guard, and I had a small injury, like tore some ligaments in my foot, and so they benched me, put Kelton Johnson in at left guard. And then in the scrimmage, when Lakin tore his ACL, then, next man up, jumped back in at right guard and played there the rest of the season.
Played the rest of the season. You played the rest of your
The
career.
rest of my career, yeah. So
come on now.
it ended up working out. But I mean, he was incredible. Lakin was the real deal.
Yeah. No, that was really sad because I used to sit near his dad in the stands, and his dad still came to every game despite Lakin being out. Honestly, that's support and love right there, and that's got to be tough, especially for a senior. Honestly, sure. And Ryan, I want to just talk about it because here's the thing that more than anything, and that I have all love for this team, and I will motivate them if their coaches won't do it. If this show has been told that it's motivating other teams to whip us or get up for us, we need to have the reverse effect and get our guys up and so forth, because this team brought back 4 legitimate starters. We talked about how they could possibly go maybe 7 or 8 deep, and the thing is that I just do not see the consistent domination that I was expecting from this group, and I'm challenging them because they've got the meat of their schedule coming up, and if they thought that the first 6 games were difficult, it's about to get more real as you continue on. And as our buddy, the coach, says, we're in the 3rd quarter right now, and the 4th quarter is coming up, honestly. And so my question to you is, what propelled you guys and that group, whether it was 2013 or 2014, what did you guys do to make yourselves better and hold each other accountable because you knew the talent that was on that side of the ball? And it started with you guys up front.
For sure. I mean, I think my senior year, the losing in state by 1 point, that was the only motivation we really needed all season. I mean, y'all walked around campus and saw the 28-27 signs everywhere you walked. Like it haunted us every step of the way. So we were reminded of the fact that we fell short and we didn't want to do it again. But I think the thing that we did really well, coaches can only do so much. They can only set the temperature so much, but there has to be a catalyst or a group of guys on the team that run that set an expectation, that hold a level. And if people aren't stepping to it, you got to kick their ass. I was a bit of that necessary evil. I was probably too serious all the time. But I think, preparing for today, just thinking about 10 years and all of that, I think the thing that's hitting me so deep is, we fall short my junior year, first time ever being to state as a school. Senior year, we win it. And for us, that sells a story now, right? Like, for West, greatness is possible. For 2 years now, back to back, greatness is not just possible, it's expected of this team. And so that's a lot of weight on the shoulders of young men. And you gotta decide whether you're going to carry that mantle or you're going to let it crush you, because pressure is either going to be the thing that makes diamonds or it's going to break you down. So it's that point in the season where it's like, put up or shut up. Who are you going to be?
That's the most beautiful, poetic thing that I've ever heard, honestly, brother. And you couldn't have captured it any better, and that's facts. Those are facts. I mean, realistically, what more do you need? The fact that you've suffered more losses in this season than you did the last couple of years combined. You've lost to a couple rival teams, no matter the fashion that it happened, and so forth. I mean, what is going to be your legacy going forward is really the motivation. And the one thing I can say about you, bud, is that you were such a great guy overall, but man, when the lights came on and the clock was running on that field, you were mean, you were tough, you wanted to bury somebody in the field, because guess what, within the rules of the game, that's legal. And that's what's missing from this group of guys. Great guys, but I want to see that ferociousness, because I see it on the other side from the other teams. The other teams they see them banners. They see the rings.
We've got the target. We've got the target on our backs now. Yeah, for sure.
Yes, and here's the thing. At the same time, you should still want to have that motivation to show we're big brother and you're little brother, and we're the standard of 5A. It starts and stops here. So, to talk about that, you guys established that. Yes, there were a couple of years, but that weren't so hot for West. But at the same time, you guys really made it happen from that start because of the running backs and the skill players you had behind you. I mean, talk about that celebration with Nate. You would run down there no matter how fast or how far he was and scored that touchdown. Talk about that, brother.
I mean, as an offensive lineman in a split back veer offense, having a dude that runs a 4.3 behind you is a dream, so it's we were coached not just to sustain the block long enough for them to get through, but it was always go to the next level, find somebody. Like our mentality was you find work. If you beat the guy in front of you or you bypass or whatever, you were looking for work the entire time. And so anytime that I was climbing second, third level, whatever, if Nathan, Seth, whoever was breaking through, I was trying to get my big butt down there with them. So yeah, I mean, most often it was Nate. That's one of my closest friends even today. So we had the put the baby in the corner celebration that made me famous. Touchdowns and yards made him famous, but the celebration made me famous. But we had a couple other celebrations. We tried to switch it up and keep it fresh, and we always went back to Old Faithful.
I'll tell you this, your helmet, the back of your helmet and your big, strong arms were always showcased as Nathan did that perfect. Right. I mean, it was amazing. I mean, how many headlines I have clipped out from those News Sentinel. I mean, West, and everything. Yep. So
I was like, hey, there's my arm right there. Like I made it. I'm just
there it is. And you can kind of see your number. What was it? 61. I remember 61, it, wasn't it? Yeah, 61. So yeah. But Coach, what's one of your questions you got for Big Mini Fridge Perry here?
Ooh, what outside of the state championship? What is your greatest memory of football?
I mean, there's so many. I think. So I this is my first year in the last 3 years that I haven't been coaching football, but 2 years prior I was coaching high school ball at Howard here in Chattanooga. And so I was on a team that unfortunately has lost a lot of games.
Yeah.
And if kind of wrestled with that thought of, at this point in my life, when I'm looking back, as many of the memories that I love, they weren't the big wins. It was us being at camp at Hiawassee, running hills together, miserable. Yeah. It was those things that you were just at the time seemed like the worst thing in the world. But just those dumb, fun memories. And then selfishly, I think one of my favorite memories was during the state championship. I had a bit of a small man complex about me. I'm like 5'11" probably 5'10". Say I'm 6 foot.
Hold on me.
Hey, that program listed you at 6'1", so you're 6'1" in my book.
Yeah. So we'll say 6 foot. Yeah, they were trying to help me with recruiting. They were looking out for me, but
you played like you were 6'1", but keep going. So yeah.
But so anytime I was going against people that were big or had the recruitment or whatever, like I had a chip on my shoulder. So in state, I'll never forget we go out there, and Kyle Phillips was mainly playing offense that game. He had a little bit of a shoulder injury and started there putting him in on defense because they needed him. And one of the first plays they subbed him in on defense, we called a timeout and walk to the sideline. And Coach Fred, the offensive line coach, and I lock eyes. And he looks at me and says, "Run it right at him." And I said, "Hell yeah, run it right at him." We go right back out, run right on top of him. Nate gets like a 35-yard touchdown. And it was that mentality that West has always had, is like, we're not backing down to nobody.
Talk about that game, Ryan. I mean, there's a few games on that season that stand out, and I know Nate talked about them, but I want to get back to that state championship game, but I really do want to preference that William Blount game because, going into that game, you guys were 4-1. It was, again, halfway through the season. And, what people don't seem to understand is it's different now. You only have your 5A region opponents. Back then, you were one of two 5A teams with a bunch of 6A teams, you know, and I think that made you guys better in terms of what you were going to face in the playoffs those couple years. But realistically, you knew you were better than Bearden that year. You knew you were better than Farragut that year. Cleveland. You even went to Asheville and played them, who's a very good team in 3A over in North Carolina. But you weren't winning by the numbers that maybe were expected. And so you're going into that game, finally a home game, because you had 4 road games in a row, which is insane to think about. And you're finally doing a home game against William Blount. And the first possession of the game, you know, uncharacteristically, Nathan fumbles the ball. It's recovered by William Blount. And you lose your temper. And realistically, as close as you and Nate were, you guys have an argument on the sideline. And you're like, I'm sick and tired of this. This offense is better than this. And then, like, he barked at you. The skill players are barking at the offensive line. But, brother, like, you guys put an ass whipping that and then it rubbed off on the defense that Max Bacon is returning a fumble 99 yards, and you hung 63 on William Blount in one half. It's still a record for West. Like, talk about what was going through your mind midway through that season, even with that motivation of the 28-27 from the year before.
For sure. I'll give you a little backstory. So this is in the archives. So
I like this.
Backstory. Yeah.
All the guys that I played with would make fun of me for the rest of my life because of this. So junior year against William Blount. So with Coach Cummings, the rule was if you win a game, when you get on the bus, you're expected to like throw down, party, yell, have a good time. If you lose, nobody says a word.
Silence.
And so if we came back,
it was like that back with us too.
It was like a lot of rides home.
Oh man,
when there was no talking on us.
Right? Yeah. So we had to run a couple times because we didn't listen to the rule. Like they were serious about it. So, you know, we're playing William Blount junior year, and expectations are so high, even then, of who we are, what we're supposed to be doing. And junior year, we probably beat them by like, you know, 21 points, 30 points, whatever. It was sizable, but it wasn't what it should have been. And so I walk back on the bus, and everyone is like, you know, losing their minds, having a great time as we're supposed to. And I'm pissed even to that point. So I walk on the bus and I say, shut the hell up. I might have, you know, said worse than that.
Word, probably. So.
Yeah.
Hey, so. and listen, it's free reign. It's past 10 o'clock now, so you can say whatever
you
So
this is archive. Yeah. So this is I'm quoting.
You're an alumni.
This is a direct quote. No, but I walked on and started yelling. I was like, y'all shut up. We didn't play well. We don't deserve to celebrate. So, I mean, we win state, and Noah Hoxie walks on the bus and he's like, guys, shut the hell up. We barely won state. You know, so I lived with that over me the entire time I was at that school. But the level of expectation that we had for ourselves was so high as a team, not just as a coaches, not just as a school, but as players. And so our role was to keep each other accountable. And I knew Nate. I knew the level of expectation he had for himself. I knew Seth. I knew the linemen and the other linemen. And if you're not there, I'm going to tell you, just like if I'm not there, if you're my teammate and you're my brother and I trust you and you're telling me I'm doing a great job and I'm playing like shit, we're missing it, you know? So it probably is just one of those moments of me losing it. Like, hey, y'all, we're not where we need to be, and we need to wake the hell up. But fortunately, I was on a team that did the same with me plenty of times. And I think that the iron sharpen iron, like that has to be there on good teams, because you know, you're always going to hit lulls. You're always going to have times where you're underperforming. And like I said earlier, coaches can't be the only ones to get it out of you.
No.
Can I tell you, I want Two-Pair to ask a question next, but can I just tell you, whatever the hell was said and done right then and there?
I don't even remember it. I got to be honest.
Because I was
I believe it was bad, though. Knowing me, I believe it was bad.
Well, and if you remember, because I was documenting things, I was a fan in the stands, and I was watching, and I was like, you know, and I was kind of like, you know, just kind of watching, and I'm like, where is that fight? Where is it? Because here's the thing. I remember that William Blount game junior year at William Blount. You guys left some points out on the field. Uncharacteristic turnovers by Seth and Nate. And realistically, I could see why you said that, and because what you were better than them, and you were even better than them. And to start off with a fumble, uncharacteristic. I mean, come on, And so I say that whatever happened there, these were the following scores that happened in those next 4 games. You won 70-14 over William Blount. So because of the running clock, you only scored 1 more touchdown, but 63 points that first half. Okay. After that
crazy.
Scary good.
Crazy.
Scary good.
And it's the next year offense, by the way. Like that's
Well, and you know what we didn't get to talk to with Nate about and so forth, and I almost wanted to joke around with him that another nickname of his was the Tin Man, because the Hardin Valley coach once uncharacteristically said that his running back had more heart than Nathan Cottrell any day of the week. So if you all didn't need any more motivation going into the sword and the eagle, the talon or whatever statue thing, 55-8 was the final in that game. Nate had 4 touchdowns. The following week against Heritage, who Wes just played, you guys won dominantly 62-21, and then you finish up on Halloween on like a freaking cold, rainy night, 55-8 at Lenoir City. Those were the 4 games going into the playoffs after that. I mean, just sick amount of points scored in 4 games.
Like just even being in it and watching it in real time, like I thought you guys could get back to state, but I didn't think you guys would win the way you won when you got there. Talk about that journey. What was it like every day seeing it that you were 1 point away from being the first class, and then you become first class to do it, and now you kind of have been the tradition that the young guys look up to when they go back to back, but you guys laid the foundation of what was possible. Talk about like you guys laying the foundation now to where West is seen as a power, West is seen as a powerhouse because of what you guys did.
Right. Yeah, I mean, no, it's been wild. I think the foundation probably was set a little bit more than we in my class maybe talk about, or as much. I think we should talk about it more. Some of the guys that were there before us. I mean, I remember being a freshman and a sophomore and having like when we walked in, we as a class were different. We had 3-4 guys that didn't graduate with us that were there as freshmen. I mean, if y'all have ever seen Last Chance U, Isaiah Wright was on our team as a freshman.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So, I mean, we had Kanan, Malik, 2 guys that weren't with the team any longer that were, sharing reps at running back with Nate, playing DB. Like, we had just a ridiculous amount of people. And so we had all the talent in the world, and we needed direction. We had a lot of guys as juniors, seniors that put into us a way of doing things that we carried all the way through, because talent that just has no base, is ultimately, I think it can miss the mark a lot of the time. So we had a lot of great guys around us. That I think that my junior year, honestly, that team probably was more complete than our senior year. We had a lot of really, really good seniors that year. And so coming back our senior year, like we had some holes, like we lost a lot of dudes, and it's, we next man up. And for us, it was just, there was no question. There was no way that we would ever lose. Like it wasn't in the cards, and we weren't going to allow it to happen with anything in our being. And like you said, that set a different standard for the school, but it had been building for a long time. And I think we just got to take the mantle to where it was already supposed to go. And it's cool to think some of those kids that might've been watching us at that point, like they need to understand that we're now looking back at them. Like, we're watching you. What are you going to do next? And everyone that gets on this call, everyone that, comes back and talks about the glory days, like we're talking about what once was, but you're the only ones that get to decide what's going to be.
I love it.
So,
He's bringing it tonight, guys.
It's cool. It's cool to be a fan now, like I've been at the last 2 state championship games because I live in Chattanooga. and stood on the field and watched them win. And none of them really knew who I was. Mostly, some of them, maybe a couple did. But I got to watch them do back-to-back, which we didn't do. We were close, but they took it further. So, the hope is always that the mantle keeps going and keeps pushing, and something greater can be carved out. So I'm a huge fan of those guys.
I have two questions to follow up with that. Great question, Two Pair. I always wanted to know what happened with Kanan and the other guy, because I mean, the thing was I remember people talked about them. Like, they're like, dude, not just Nate, but all of you guys. Like Coach Cummings privately said, and here's some archive stuff. He said that freshman class is pretty damn special. And I heard that he told the upper class guys, be nice to them, honestly. And ultimately, you guys were the backbone to make that state championship run in 13 and 14 happen. And that senior class ahead of you was very special. Khalil, Kelton, Leonard, Leon Humphrey,
man.
Cody Underwood.
Countless.
Underwood.
Cody Underwood.
Oh,
before Ryan Scott, there was Cody Underwood. So,
that team.
Cody Underwood on the show.
I love Cody Underwood.
Man, he was so tough. Like, because the thing that I don't know if people really get this, but the offense and defense, we hated each other.
Yeah, you did. Yeah, you
did.
Did.
Genuinely, because depending who you talk to, our offense probably got a little bit more like press, and the defense hated us for it. So anytime we did one-on-ones, like ones versus ones, very rarely, but when we did, we were going out for blood. Like, we talked shit to each other every single day. I looked at them wearing the black shirts. I was jealous as hell. We were always going against each other, and I think that made us better. Like, a dude like Cody Underwood made my life hard. Those guys were incredible.
I know that Kelton and Noah couldn't stand each other and so forth.
Oh my God. Yeah. I mean, the amount of arguments that we got in practice, times that players would hit Seth and Coach Cummings would halt practice and chew him out. Like, I mean, we didn't pull punches very often.
You know what it reminded me of a little bit? Everybody knows I'm a Miami Hurricane fan, but it reminded me of those days of the U back then, because they used to hate each other, offense, defense, and their practices they felt were harder than the actual games when they played. Games were fun day. Practices was when you really wanted to go after somebody and so forth. And I saw that mentality with you guys, especially from that 2010 to that 2014, that 5 years there. It was a very intriguing time to be a West football player, as well as a former player that got privy to the practices, because I loved watching you guys sometimes practice and so forth. Some people didn't see me, but I'd always have a cigar, kind of just hiding. And here's the thing: back then, you talk about another thing where the softball field is. That was your practice field, because you didn't want to mess up the grass on the field. You had to make that thing last all year long. So,
and the flooding. The flooding where the linemen practiced, man, it was, we were thugging it out there. It was not always great.
Yeah. Well, but like I said, I was just curious about, what happened with Kanan and that, though, if you can talk about it a little bit and so forth. So
and I won't lift the lid too much on their story, but it was just some legal stuff.
Okay. I hate hearing that. There's been a lot of guys like that behind the scenes that, unfortunately, but that's what makes our school so diverse and special, that you have, Coach Two Pair, we talk about it. We're all from different aspects, but we came together and became brothers. You know what I mean? And we wouldn't have met, other than West, because of our backgrounds and everything.
And we miss those guys so deeply. I mean, I played with Malik in Little League, the 1 year that I played for West, and both of them, just the energy and the relationships that they brought. I mean, they were great guys. So, it was tough without them for sure, but we made do.
Absolutely. Coach, you got another question for Mr. Mini Fridge Perry?
Ooh. Give me a minute. Come back to me.
I'll come back to you. I've Two Pair, to go off of your other question that you asked, Ryan, talk about also, what you guys did. If you can talk about your coach, because realistically, Kevin Day also helped coach you guys, and he was also the strength and conditioning, a cool, wild dude.
Good dude, yeah,
Carson
yeah.
Newman guy,
Yep.
From kind of like that. What would you call that area? It's kind of like that area between Cleveland and Ray County. He's like from over there and so forth. It's like the mid East Tennessee, but he knew about Ray County. He knew about those teams. I think he went somewhere over there. So
I'm blanking.
yeah,
I
I'm a
can't
blank
remember where he
too.
went.
But he knew those type of teams, and he even prepared you guys that Ray County wasn't going to quit. Forget about those refs being a pain in the ass, but
Yeah.
they almost cost you guys that championship. But realistically, he told you they're not going to quit. Like even if you're down, if they're down. So but talk about like the coaching you got from him those couple years.
Yeah, for sure. So it all started with Coach Fred. For us, who he was there all 4 years, and incredible coach. And like you said, the last 2 years I was there, they brought in old Kevin Day, and he was a teacher, a history teacher in school. So we had a couple classes with him, and he was just a guy that like I think I connected with pretty deeply from the very first day, and latched on to him as much as possible. I mean, he was basically a couple years out from winning the Remington Award, for the best center in college football. I mean, talk about the person that, as someone who was going to play center in college and knew that from day one, that I was around him as much as I could be. And he was a high energy guy. I mean, he would run onto the field every day and yell, "It's a great day to be great." And constantly, "It's a great day to be great," just yelling at the top of his lungs. And the thing that he had that I really think as a coach, I think one of the greatest hopes is that at some point your players begin to resemble you. I think to some level there was a switch that flipped in me with Coach Day, that like a piece of me being a dog like that. Like I had some plays that you said anything within the letter of the law. Like I stretched that as far as I could, and got after some people, and that was Coach Day. Like he would celebrate the hell out of, like, if you went like an extra mile, if you were cut blocking someone and you bear crawled 5-10 yards and just kept going relentlessly. Like he was that high motor, relentless guy. So he celebrated that. And I think every single one of the linemen, like we began to embody that. And just a hell of a coach, and even a better man. I mean, love him to death.
And just talking about that, like, who are some of like those unsung heroes that people don't talk about when it comes to your team, Ryan? Like, of course, I think a lot of times that offensive line doesn't get enough recognition for what you guys were able to do with Seth and Nathan and Christian Romines.
I mean, he's one of those guys, unsung guys.
Yeah. Just talk about like those unsung guys that people don't really talk about when they bring up your championship ball club.
For sure. I mean, offensive line wise, like two guys jumped into a starting rotation for the first time, both on the left side, Ben Mixon, Keyshawn Dockery, and did really well. Rob was center, and he and Blake had shifted a little bit the year before, young guys playing as sophomores. So, but had to step up. And then beside me, I had Isaiah, and I feel like Isaiah and I've had a pretty strong partnership on the right side. So I think the line ultimately clicked pretty well and found a rhythm. But man, Christian Romines definitely one of those guys that whenever his number was called, he did what he needed to do. Didn't always get the praise, but like he's just a gamer, one of those guys that just makes it happen. Umar, he was one of those, like, he was a captain senior year, receiver in an offense that you're not going to get the ball, and worked his ass off every single day.
His mom was awesome in the stands too. Umar's mom, she was like the team mama too. She was
so I mean, he was huge for us. I mean, his character was incredible. Man, I mean, there's just so many. Eric Middleton was great. I think he was.
Middleton
wore my numbers, 45.
I think he probably didn't get as much as he deserved. Leonard on that team was huge. I think he started getting more and more love on the back end. I mean, the names could go on forever.
Sean Highfield, who's actually the half brother of Terry, who we played with.
Yeah. Sean was great. So I've known him like most of my life. Shimlock, Hayden Shimlock was a dog. Tommy Pridemore probably doesn't get any shout outs. Tommy Pridemore was such a good corner. When you looked at him, you thought, no way. But he would go up against anyone and was just like a pest. He was in your hip pocket. He was slapping. He was grabbing. He was poking. And also as the holder on the team, and always talked about how good his holding was. So
that's the other thing about you guys. Like, I love that story of when you guys went to the and I don't even know if they do it anymore, but the main guys got to go on Monday to have that lunch, that breakfast of all the TSSAA. And there's Hillsboro with Kyle Phillips and Vincent Jackson, two UT, and they look like the part, and you guys are like joke. And you guys are like the tennis team. It looks like the tennis team and one little fat guy in Perry. That's what it looked like. Honestly.
Yeah, I mean, the only person we brought with us that had any he looks like a football player was Noah Hoxie.
Was Noah. Yeah.
Everyone else was like looking like a frat dude. It was a lot of like jeans with cuffs and Sperry's and
collared shirts. I mean,
they literally they stood up from their table in unison and walked over to us and one by one shook our hands and introduced themselves, like looking at us like, man, we're about to just dog y'all. You could see it in them that they genuinely believed like this was going to be easy. So I mean, we didn't look the part at all. We did not like.
That's good. Yeah. I love hearing that. I love hearing that. Shane, do you got that question, bud? I want you in on that. So yeah.
Trying to figure out how to word it. So you said you've coached football in the past. What got you into coaching?
So my main gig is I'm a pastor out here in Chattanooga, and have worked with
the Lord's work.
Yeah. But we do a lot of team programming out here in South Chattanooga. So with the kids that go to Howard, and to be honest with you, I went to a scrimmage and I swore my entire life that I would never coach football. It was the last thing. Like I was like, I'm gonna play. I'm gonna have my career be done. Never coach. I was at a scrimmage and I watched the center snap it over the quarterback's head 4 or 5 times. And I showed up to practice the next week. Walked up to the head coach. Walked up to the head coach.
Got bit by the bug.
I said, hey man, I don't want to step on anybody's toes, but I would love to help out. And he was like, yeah, we don't want no dad coach stuff. Like we don't need someone from the sideline talking. And I was like, well, I played football 11 years, won a state championship, played a little bit of center at UTC. And he's like, oh, okay. Like, you come back tomorrow. So ended up getting to help out with the team for a couple years. What's that?
Resume show.
Right. But yeah.
Ryan, that's one thing that I think that kind of gets lost in the shuffle. There was a lot of publicity with the team. Nate obviously going to Georgia Tech. Alec, went over there to what was Furman. It? Furman.
Yeah. So Birds went to Furman.
Noah went to Air Force before transferring back over to Marshall.
Seth went to Wofford.
Went to Wofford. You went to UTC though, and talk about your time there at UTC, because obviously you must have loved the city enough that you now live there, and your cause is as a pastor is going there right now. So talk about that journey, if you don't mind, brother.
Sure. Yeah. So I was a preferred walk-on. I was one of those kids that. I was really arrogant, not because I thought I was God's gift, but because of the work that I put in. So I wasn't going to do anything below 1AA, and I was happy to do a preferred walk-on and prove some people wrong. So I got to show up at camp and, walked into life as a college football player and had some highs, had some lows, got some really good experiences. So I was there for one season. Knew about halfway through that I was going to stop to pursue ministry. Had, some very specific things that happened that I felt like that was the next step for me. But I didn't want to quit in the middle of a season. So I wrote it out and walked in the coach's office after the season, thanked him for the opportunity, and transitioned into ministry. So it was a pretty quick thing. I think ultimately I described football as a vehicle for me. It ultimately got me where I was supposed to be, got me to the city that I'm in, that I call home. And gave me some of my best experiences and memories, and but set me up to do what I think was my next step.
That's awesome. Can I ask you another thing? Because you mentioned Howard, and
Mhm.
a lot of people don't realize that a long time ago, Howard used to be a very good team that people
Right.
feared.
Right.
Same with Chattanooga Red Bank. Can you talk about how difficult the public schools are when you have two unbelievable powerhouses in McCallie and Baylor with all the nice stuff, the private
Sure.
stuff, and they're not only gobbling talent in your area, they're coming from all over.
Everywhere. They got kids from Canada. Like, I mean, they get kids from everywhere. Yeah, so Chattanooga is really, really private school heavy. I mean, obviously you have the Baylors and Macaulay's, but you also have, schools like Boyd, who went to the state championship last year. You got the Notre Dames. You've got countless private schools in Chattanooga that really just pull from talent. And the level of public schools in Chattanooga with football is so far below what it is in Knoxville. And I've seen that definitely the whole time I've been out here. Unfortunately, that's not what things were historically, as you said. Like Howard was that team that you didn't want to play. It's
Didn't.
Reggie White's alma mater, like one of the most historic schools. But now, like they have 30 kids on the team, freshman, JV, and varsity, and it's a 5A team. So the level is different. They have open enrollment out here, which is, kids can kind of pick where they want to go to school based on some different things. So it's a complete different conversation. I mean, like to think Howard and West are both 5A just doesn't logically even make sense to me.
No, and I think that that's why, realistically, with no disrespect, that's why I think the quad 1 and 2 teams are always better and more prepared than the quad 3 and 4.
For sure.
Realistically, now that could change, but I just remember 25 years ago,
Yeah.
nobody wanted to mess with
Nobody.
Red Bank. Nobody wanted to mess with Howard.
Nobody.
And the truth of the matter is, where would Gerald Riggs Jr.
Hmm.
have been going if it was, now? He'd probably be
Right.
at Baylor or Macaulay,
Right.
and getting showcased as opposed to
Red,
being at Red Bank. So yeah,
No,
Red
for
Bank.
sure. For sure.
so yeah. Do you guys got other questions? I don't want to hog it, but I just love that, Ryan, you come on, and you talk to me off camera, and we're like, hey, I'm just honored to be on, brother. You like let me just tell you this: to take that path of ministry and want to make a difference, not only in kids' life, but also people's lives, because people, look at the devastation that just happened with this hurricane, and there's homes that are gone. There's people that have nothing, that maybe had
Right.
nothing even before. And, you look at natural disasters and it's like you almost ask that question of faith. Faith gets questioned during those times. People look to people like you for counsel. How do I pick myself up and go? I mean, that's special, brother. Not everybody has that. So never, like minimalize what you do, because we need people like you, people with a cause. That's what this show's all about.
For sure.
And we have somebody on here. We had a guy that we played with that never thought in a million years he would make the difference that he would make, and even write a book and so forth. And
Yeah.
Troy Smith. I mean, you think about things of where you were in high school, but what would a message be to maybe a kid that's on the team, super talented?
Right.
Maybe football's not there forever, and they really don't know what they want to do with themselves. I mean, what would be your message to someone like that, that's not knowing
Yeah.
what they want?
Yeah, I mean, I would just say do the thing that's right in front of you as best as you can. When you talk about the rebels with the cause, and you look at all of us that are 10 years out or 15, 20 years out or whatever, like I'm standing on today so much of what I picked up when I was at West High School. There are so many times that I default in life when things get tough to those 2-a-days, 3-a-days, to camp, to tough times, to overcoming and winning a state championship, because I've proved to myself that I've done that before. I can do it again, if that makes sense. So for the young guy that, might not know what's next, but knows what he's loving to do in the moment, I would say, man, enjoy the hell out of it while you got it. And, you know, Nathan talked a lot about this. Like, those are the best days. Like, man, it is something so special. I was somebody who really, really tried to rush to what was next and didn't take advantage of it as much as I could have when I had it. So yeah, take full advantage of it, enjoy it, make the most out of it, be great there, because being great at one thing is going to make you be great at another thing. Discipline begets discipline. Like, the more that you do and the more that you learn and grow where you are, where your feet land today, the more like you are to put it into practice the next step, wherever that takes you. You don't got to have it all figured out, you know, just be great one step at a time.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Great.
I want you to stay on the show with us, man, if you don't mind, and talk a little ball with us and so forth.
Yeah, I got plenty of time.
Awesome.
I'm loving it, man.
Well, let's talk about this, because unfortunately this game was supposed to be homecoming. It was supposed to be Friday. This horrendous hurricane changed everything. School got canceled. So I'm sure that was kind of a weird thing for you, Shane, you know, especially a single father trying to figure out what you do with one kid and you got to work. And, you know, yes, you have the older sister that can maybe watch, but she don't want to watch her little brother. I mean, I'm just saying, it was an inconvenience that came out of nowhere. You had people scrambling, trying to find when to play these games. And what we were given was a 3 o'clock game in the miserable rain. It was a shame because the everybody looked wonderful dressed up. I was watching on Diamond Clear Media as well, Two Pair, and so they had the camera rolling. It wasn't what the festivities should have been on a Friday night. And I know stuff happens and everything, but the end result was West 38-13. Heritage scored on a running clock against the backups to make that score, but realistically, West again dominated from the second half on. But it was another slow start where they were only up 17-6 at halftime. So, guys, let's talk about this. I'll let anybody have the floor at this point. Like, what does West have to do? Because you cannot ill afford a slow start against the caliber of an opponent you're about to face this Friday night.
I talked about this last week, that you've got to put your foot to their throat for all 48 minutes, and we're still not seeing. And teams are exploiting it real freaking quick. I mean, yeah, you dominated how you needed to in this one, but when you go up against a team like Alcoa this week, like, you can't just be like, oh, we'll come back out in the second half, or we'll start playing the second part. You have to go full on right there for the first snap, bust them in their mouth, and play football for 48 minutes. You can't just play part of it and expect to get the result you want. Something's got to click in their heads, say, okay, we got to take this serious if we want to achieve what we've been doing.
Two Pair, very well said, Coach. Two Pair, can you elaborate of what you were talking about earlier? You know, again, we have the talent. I mean, you mentioned Jack Keith. He had another pick six, and he actually leads the KFL right now in interceptions, a linebacker, no less. And, you know, he even had a pick six robbed from him, too, because of a ridiculous penalty. But he almost has one every game, it seems like. I mean, just talk about what this talent needs to do to get it all together for maybe an upset, because I'm gonna be honest with you, nobody's given West a chance this Friday night. I've never seen West a bigger underdog than I've seen. I mean, the disrespect on the coach team message boards, I'm seeing scores prediction of 42-14, and to quote my favorite movie, Rocky 3, pain. I mean, what does it take to motivate you to go over there and do something about it, Two Pair?
You know, that's what I've been trying to figure out with this team. I can't put my handle on it, guys. Like, I've watched scrimmages, I've watched them play games, I've seen them against the upper echelon competition, like when they played Maryville, and it was just like we didn't seize the moment, or we played uncharacteristic. We couldn't get teams off third down. Like, we keep having these sustainable drives against teams, and we're not imposing our will like the teams of last year, the year before last. Like, it's not the same type of team, because a fan, I'm not gonna say their name, we talked about this after the game, and it's like, are they the defending state champions, or are the guys that already graduate, or those they're defending state champions.
Wow.
And that's the question I ask myself, because I too much talent. Like it's the time. It gets to the point of I'm saying to myself, and I say to you guys in the group chat, talk about. I'm like, we've got a ton of talent to play lackluster the way we have. Like I felt like the Farragut game, we saw an offense explosion. I think Clinton just undermatched. Central gave us everything we wanted that first half, and then we kind of took over with the special teams player Riley Manning. Like, we've got guys that can make play. That's not a problem. It's, can we put together a complete football game up against Alcoa, Anderson County, Powell? We just don't look like that up against the upper echelon guys. It just is what it is. Like, we've got a great group. We got a great staff. All that's great, but it's just got to be on the players in position to take it to that next step. That's all, man. Like, that's where I'm at with it.
Ryan, to allude to what Two Pair was saying, you mentioned earlier you guys had to do it yourselves. You know, that you had an unbelievable coaching staff, just like this coaching staff and Coach Brown. And I also want to give two shout outs because I want your thoughts to say something else about this guy. With the win with West and Heritage, Lamar Brown got his 150th victory as a head coach in his illustrious career. So congratulations, Coach Brown, on 150. And Morgan Shaver, who played with us, was actually my freshman buddy when I was a senior. With all his years at West, him and his father, who's an amazing guy, Scott Shaver. But Coach Shaver got 150 wins with the program. I mean, that's something special.
Incredible
right there as well. So shout out to both those guys. So I want that to be known. And the big screen gave a great tribute, which as well as it should have been deserved. And that's what sucks too, because there weren't that many people there. It was a dreary, horrible Saturday afternoon. And the sad part is that, you know, not everybody got to really partake in that like it should have been on the Friday night. But they have a great staff, like Two Pair said. But the coaches can only do so much. What's your take with this, Ryan, and what you've seen from this team, what you've watched this season?
Yeah, I mean, it's 10:55, and y'all said it's fair game. So,
it's fair game.
Oh,
We're alumni.
Hold on one second. Wait a minute. Let me just throw this up there.
Okay. I won't be too crazy out there. I'm a pastor, so I gotta.
I know you do, but I mean, a lot of fire under these boys. I love them to death. It's a tough love from
light
Uncle
the fire,
James.
fan the flame.
Come on,
So, just 100%. Y'all just got to drop your nuts. Like, you just got to man up. I mean, it's 100% a mentality thing, and I'm a little bit partial here, but it starts with the O-line, starts with the big guys. O-line, D-line, you've got to decide that you were going to control the line of scrimmage. And when for us, when we were there, I didn't give a shit about what Nate and the other guys were going to do. I was going to take care of my job. And I trusted that Isaiah was going to take care of his job. Rob was going to take care of his job. And the next man beside us. And if you do that as an offensive line and a defensive line, especially in a team that has talent behind you, no one can touch you. No one can touch you. But if you're waiting on somebody else to make a play, it's never going to be done. So, yeah, I mean, you can't – I mean, I'm just a firm believer. You can't let your coaches want it for you. They can't go out and get it for you. They can't be your main motivator. They can't be the one carrying it. So whether it's an individual or it's a group on the team, y'all got to step up and just be the driving force. And – you know, maybe you need an asshole that yells at people on the sidelines at halftime, or I don't know. I don't know what the cure is, other than the fact that you've just got to decide in your mind you're gonna impose your will on the person in front of you, and not back down. You just got to drop your nuts. I think it's as simple as that.
You know, I'm glad you mentioned that. Very well said. No, he's brought it tonight, man. I love this. And, you know, Coach, to talk about what he was talking about, you know, you think about this, and you've mentioned this. Two Pairs mentioned it. I mean, I can't believe we are now in game 7 at this point. We're past the midway point. And,
We've been past the midway point.
I want to know, you've got 20-something seniors on that team. Who is going to step up and be the Ryan Scott or the Anderson Smith or the Braylon? I mean, I just want to know. I mean, who is it?
The thing is, if we're this far in the season and we're wondering who's going to be it means that there's not that person in the locker room.
And I don't care if it's an underclassman. Somebody needs to freaking.
I do like what Messiah Wren said after the Central game.
Yeah.
I do like what he said after the Central game when we got to interview him. He was like, it's on us as seniors. You know, we know what it is to go to the mountaintop. And
is he a senior? Because I thought he was a junior. So I thought he was the only one who was a junior. Yeah, because McAllister's a senior and Tavion. Maybe Messiah is. I thought he was a junior on the roster. So shoot.
Yeah. I mean,
but he's right though. He's right.
He's a leader.
He's a leader.
He's a leader. And you know, like, and I take what Wyatt DeRoche said when we interviewed him this summer about. This is what it takes. It's got to be on us. And I think Hunter Dance had one of the better quotes when we interviewed him this summer. And he said, you know, I'm not going to lie. We're a running football team, but that O-line, that D-line, those guys won in the trenches and made my job easy. So as a senior, I got to be a leader and I got to play mistake-free football. And that's what I sense with Parker. I think Parker is one of the more intelligent quarterbacks in Knox County. I think probably the next guy up is that kid out in Gibbs who we've been raving about. Warren Axton might be one of the better quarterbacks in the city. And I'm talking about talent beyond talent, because he's took that Gibbs team and like they are a problem right now just because of the way he carries that team and the way he is when we saw him in that scrimmage. And it's like I feel like these seniors, I think they might be pressing too much. I don't know if they let the game come to them.
I mean, I hate to say this, but I don't see anybody having fun out there on the offensive side of the ball, like especially the offensive line.
It looks like a job.
It does. Like the defense is having a good time. I mean, shoot, they're whopping and hollering, and Jack Keith is doing his thing. But you know, Ryan, you were a captain as an offensive lineman. You know, like you have 4 seniors on that offensive line, and not one of them walks out there for the coin toss.
Not one of them.
Just curious. And I love them. I love all them boys. I do. But where is it? Where is it, man? One of those hog mollies needs to be like an imposing dude that says, "This is how it's going to go." I mean, this is how it's going to do it.
Because that rubs off. You know, you set a standard in that pretty quickly. One thing that we had, I'm not sure what the breakdown is currently, but we had a leadership team that, you know, had a group of guys from every single class that we would meet on Sundays and talk. And I think for us, that was instrumental because we could talk very openly about what was being done, what wasn't being done, what we needed to do to correct it. And then internally as a group, we made sure it happened. So, you know, I think any team that has the possibility of having a leadership team of players from every single class, something like that is invaluable. Because I mean, we had a group of guys that, like I said, just held everyone accountable, from pee on the seats to running through the line at practice. Like we held the bar pretty high for each other.
And just talk about what does accountability do for a team that's striving to do what they're trying. Like, I think there's a ton of pressure, and I just want to say, like, what do you think accountability would do for a team that's has the pressure of being the class that could be the first to do something that's unprecedented?
Right. Yeah, because now you're talking dynasty, right? Like the conversation switches up real quick. I think accountability isn't isn't a blanket thing. Accountability with different kids and different systems looks different. So for a team like what we got right now with what y'all are saying, maybe accountability looks like someone being like, "Hey man, you need to have more fun." Like the accountability that I got from my teammates was, "Hey, chill out. Like be the guy that shows up and presses us and works hard and is vocal, but enjoy this." And I needed that accountability because if I didn't, I was going to miss it 9 times out of 10. So for a team that, like you said, it looks like a job. Sometimes accountability looks like having that dude that's like, "Hey, lighten up, free yourself up a little bit and go out and perform with what you have." We've seen that we can do it with what we've got. Sometimes expectation can be so pressuring and so confining, but expectation shouldn't be that. It should be an invitation of like, you have everything in you already. Go enjoy the hell out of that. Like, don't box yourself in. Like, you guys got what you need. Enjoy it and celebrate and lift somebody up in the end zone every single time you score. Like, enjoy the hell out of it because it goes by quick. Like y'all said, it's week 7 now or whatever. Like, it goes by so fast. So,
and listen, avoid a flag because God knows we can't get one on this team. But I'm just saying that, like, go on the sidelines and jump up and down. I mean, you know what really bothered me the most, guys, like about the Maryville loss or whatever? You had younger guys that were kind of laughing on the sideline. There's nothing funny.
Laughing.
There's nothing funny.
Yeah, no, and that starts with the seniors.
Like,
that starts with the seniors. Like that's not that's one of the things that we would nip in the bud. But if we were up by 50 and we weren't playing in the second half, we would be on the sideline acting a fool. Like there's a time and a place for everything.
Sure.
I remember we would be on the sideline having photo shoots with Miss Polly Birch mid-game. Freshmen would be on the field in the second half. We would be acting like we were watching, taking pictures, having a good time. But
and you were rooting the younger guys on when somebody made a big play that was out there. You were having a blast, man. I mean, that's just the thing. I mean, I like I said, this is all love, and there's going to be tough love, and I want to be proven wrong. I want them to tell me, yeah, keep motivating us because I'm tired of motivating the other damn teams. That's what I see.
And you know what's sad? You know what's sad, Ryan? Since we've been doing this show, since West has been taking off in football and basketball. We have now become the school that people talk about because they use the podcast to fuel them. I never thought that would happen, but I link it back to that 2014 team and what you guys have done as a standard and what these kids after you have said, you know what, those dudes were the first. So we're going to keep this tradition rolling. And I kind of liken it to the University of Miami, the U. Like, it's kind of that brotherhood where now some of the old players are friends with the new players, or they're exchanging IG, they're talking. Like, that is really dope, man. Like, and the fact that you're in ministry and you're teaching guys how to be a Proverbs man 31, it gets better and better, man. Like, seriously.
Hey, Ryan, to echo what Two Pair said, you should see the amount of hate comments I get sometimes, honestly.
I believe it.
And it's like, look, listen, man, if you need a 40-year-old broke down has-been or whatever, I'll own it, man. Shit, my knees hurt, my back hurts.
Yeah, like,
I still get up and throw weight up or whatever at Planet Fitness in the morning, I'm a dad. I mean, that's what I am. I mean, shoot. So, but the fact is that like they love rubbing it in when West don't bring it or whatever like that. And it's like, okay, all right, that's fine. I mean, but look, I don't talk the trash. I let my team do the talking on the field. And I just want them to have fun out there because like you and Nate said, and everybody has said, if you go back to all of our guests in the respective sports they played, you only get this chance once and it's over. like that. And
Right.
like we mentioned, poor Lakin, he didn't even get a damn senior season with the torn ACL
Right.
in a freaking scrimmage. Sam Holt, that happened to us in practice. He was our punter, and Channing unfortunately just took a bad angle and he tore his ACL, and his season was over as a punter
As a
/ linebacker
senior.
we were counting on. So
Right.
I'm just saying that
Yeah.
these guys right now that have that opportunity, man, ball out, because there may not be the next level. The next level's not for everybody,
Right.
but damn, you got to make this count, because then you wake up and you're 40 and you're watching your own kid play and you're like, damn, I miss those days.
for
Oh
sure.
man, absolutely.
Just saying.
For
Shane,
sure.
you see it. You're watching you're coaching your boy, for good sakes.
I coached 2 of my kids.
2 of your kids. There you go. So shoot. So
I still miss my daughter playing the most though. She played on the O line and D line. I miss it. She would get after it. Like, she had a true hatred for people. If she saw like another O lineman holding, she's like, "All right, I'm gonna get this one."
I love it. I love it.
Yeah. My favorite memory with her though was she tore her ACL 8th grade year right before we played Alcoa. So she was out for that, and we had Halls a couple of weeks later, and that's when Cummings' son was playing at Halls when he was coaching over there.
Okay.
And she's sitting on the sideline. She's like, "Dad, it's a run play." I'm like, "How can you tell?" Like, I can't tell it's a run play. She's like, she's looking at the gap between the lineman's heel and the grass, like he's gonna push forward. It's a run play. I'm like looking down. I'm like, how do you see this? And sort of like she knew the next 3 plays that they were running. I was just like, all right, you're so angry for the rest of the season. Here we go.
Some players know ball. Some players know ball. I'm telling you, they do.
She had player awareness.
She will get onto her brother. I have not let her come to a practice this year, but she will call him out. She's like, if I can do this, and I'm only 5'3", and you're 4 inches away from where I was, what's your excuse? And he's just like, I'm a DB. I'm not a lineman.
Well, let's talk about it, guys. I'm going to put this up here. The Rebels traveled to Pistol Creek to face the mighty, mighty Alcoa Tornadoes. The tail of the tape, 23 state championships, 9 in a row. And would you like to know, Ryan, that it just so happened the last one they didn't win was hours before you guys won your first that day. People don't remember that CPA upset Alcoa that day. Otherwise, it would be 17 years in a row that they'd be the state champions of 2A and 3A respectively. They have put out tons of D1 prospects. They are the standard of 3A, and not many teams go into Pistol Creek and win. Ravenwood did it. And Ravenwood's got a damn good ball club in 6A this year, as they have had in the past, but they put it together this year. But since that loss, Alcoa has beaten Bearden and has won every game very substantially. And right now, the disrespect towards West, apparently they're a 17.5-point favorite if you were doing that type of a thing. And the predictions have been very, very disrespectful on the coach team message board. So your thoughts, Ryan, of what is the Herculean effort that needs to be done this Friday night when nobody's given them a chance? Even the local papers and the media and all that aren't even giving them a chance to win this game.
I would just say, if you need any other reason for motivation, you don't need to be on the field. I think you should feel disrespected. You should feel pissed off. And this is the time, because you got a whole lot of people talking. You got a whole lot of people wondering. Put up or shut up. I've got a foster son that I'm working on adoption right now, and he plays at Boyd. So he plays 16-year-old plays for Coach Rankin. And we were supposed to scrimmage them either my junior year or senior year. So we have a nice background debate going on as through my son as the middleman about who would have won that scrimmage, Alcoa or West. So I never got the chance, and all I'm hearing is there's no way, even on my end in Chattanooga, here, and there's no way that West goes in and wins this game. So every single person out there is doubting you. Are you going to doubt yourself? Or are you going to believe? And you're going to go. You're going to go take what's yours.
Wow. I mean, it's incredible where this program has gotten to that we're looked at, you know? I mean, and let me just tell you this. There's a team out west right now that has taken home 3 consecutive silver, like they on a mission, where they, as everybody was talking, Shane, about Maryville not allowing a single point up to those games until they played West, this team hasn't allowed 1 single point in 6 ball games. So I don't need to mention who it is.
Taking that loss to heart.
They are, and you don't need to even mention that. You ain't ready for that, okay? You need to take care of business this Friday night, and that's all I'm saying. You know, because that it's coach team message board crap. How many times did they insult Max Bacon and said he looked like a little kid?
He looked like an 8th grader every single week.
And Tennessee High is still regretting that they said that about him. When you
honestly, one of my favorite games when I was in high school. By the way, that game was incredible. But
can I tell you a quick story about that game? By the way,
please.
Things are different now. I mean, have you been to a game at West? I know you're doing the thing at Howard, but have you seen the new gate and everything of when you walk? It's beautiful. Well, this was the old gate, you know, that's now kind of like a wheelchair access and kind of a rundown little box to get your ticket. Well, we're in line, and this woman from Tennessee High, wherever they're located up there, is there with her friend, and she's like, "You have annoyed me the whole trip. I mean, it's been a long 2 hours. I mean, can you just be quiet so we can enjoy the game? It's been a long 2-hour ride." And I said underneath my breath to my, you know, to Sandy at that time, I said, "It's going to be a long 2-hour ride back." And it was, man. You guys scored on the opening kickoff, and we were at Waffle House by 9 o'clock that night.
Oh yeah, well, because they were on the field. They were on the field before the game, and they were like kicking up the W in the middle of the field. They spit on it, and so we were in the locker room watching them, and we didn't need any other reason. I mean, we were ready to go. So that game was a lot of fun.
Yeah, I know. I mean, like I said, we were at Waffle House and out of the cold by 9 o'clock. Thank you for that, by the way.
Yeah, early
and I hope the lady had a nice 2-hour drive back.
Drive home early. Yep.
I love it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that playoff, man, we played some tough teams that year in the playoffs. That whole ride was, I mean, it was.
You didn't have one easy game. South Doyle with all their studs. I mean, the Ray County game.
I didn't remember the South Doyle game being that tough until when we were making the documentary.
The documentary, yeah, because realistically, the 34-14 score is very
friendly.
Yeah, because you guys wore them out in the fourth quarter, but it was 14-7, and you know, I'll tell you this: somebody that had a horrible game that game, and I challenged him, and damn, did is he forever in the lore of West football? Jeremiah. I mean, Jeremiah couldn't have had a worse game at wide receiver that they pulled him, and Umar had to play both ways that game and so forth. He couldn't cover. I mean, he had to cover Shea LaBouffe or whatever his name was.
Jock
Bruce, and LaBouffe, the wide receiver guy. I mean, so basically, realistically, I challenged Jeremiah, and he has the catch that sends you all to the state championship game against Ray County there with 35 seconds left. So, but still, that game was very tough. And Christian Romines, you talk about a guy that never got the glory. They were keying in on Nate. Romines was the difference in that game with that touchdown that gave you that 2 touchdowns.
Christian Romines. That's the name that
Romines, man. If he doesn't get hurt, that kid was playing college ball somewhere, honestly. If he doesn't get
Christian
hurt.
Romines, man. Like he's one of those other, like, the unsung group, man. Like I was like, man, there's one. I was like, I want to say his name was Romines, and I made sure it was Christian because I love hearing the former players like Susan Ryan coming on this show and just discussing this, man. Like it's just cool to have this type of conversation with a former player that, like, bro, you got to hold the gold, man. Like Holding the gold.
Do you got the ring on? Do you got your ring on? Because we still need to take that
tonight.
picture with all the
Not
rings,
tonight.
honestly. So we need to, we need to see each other and take that
Okay.
picture. So
For sure.
Coach, what is it going to take to go to Pistol Creek? Because you've talked ad nauseum about that. The lights. Remember, the lights went out when Bearden was getting close when you were on staff there, and I mean, like, if it even gets to that West gets close and those lights go out, I'm gonna, like, if you ain't at the game, I'm calling you and going, the lights went out. So I mean,
if there's no penalty for the lights going out this time, it's rigged again.
They don't like to lose it.
You got to shut down their D1 commit, Eli Owens. You got to shut him down. You got to shut him down. He's a beast offensively and defensively. You got to shut him down.
And Eli Graff, you've got to watch him. He's a quarterback that can make the throws, but his weapon is the legs. And if you over pursue, I mean, he can make you pay with his runs and his legs. Honestly, he's a basketball player. He's a football player.
Yeah. What is West gonna do defensively in the secondary?
I don't know.
Like,
I don't know if
do not give up the middle. Do not give up the middle. Do not give up the middle.
That's what I gotta see. What they're gonna do, like, for it is in the secondary, and looking at what they can do from the standpoint in the trenches, because I feel like if they're playing man and you got Burdine and Manny, I feel comfortable. But if we're playing these zones, I feel like we can get damaged.
Well, you know, I think it all starts if you got McAllister back. You've missed him the last 2 games, and he's your senior leader back there. That, you know, him and Burdine are like the quarterbacks of that defense, getting everybody organized.
And when you don't have those guys,
and that's huge. I mean, and McAllister's a physical safety. Don't just judge him by his size. I mean, he plays like he's 6'3", 225 when he lays the wood and so forth. But I mean, like I said, and you know, you've had JP out with some with an injury the last couple of games, so you've had some guys have to get thrusted into roles, and they've done a fairly good job. But at the same time, you really need to make sure you've got your guys, because they've got an offense that can score. Jameer Dean is pretty much Mr. Basketball for him, you know, now and so forth. He's a player on football. You got Condish Cherry over there who joined the team late. I mean, they've got some names over there that are looking to make highlight reels against a very good West defense. That's what they're looking for. And they got a great offensive line up front. A really big, nasty, and it's going to be a battle for our defensive line to not only hold up, but also, you know, play how they need to play to win the game and prevent the big play and cause some turnovers, because that's something that I've not seen really Alcoa struggle with since that first game against Ravenwood. They protect the football. So, yeah.
There's just a lot of talent on that team.
Oh, it's going to be. I mean, and there's talent on our team too. I mean, like I said, this is still, no matter what you think about it, it's still the game of the week. That's why I was just so unnerved and bothered by the fact of all this trash being talked on Coach Team message board. West isn't very good this year. They weren't that impressive beating Heritage. You know, they're going to get rocked by Alcoa like they did Maryville. I mean, the talk is being talked about, and it's like they hate us. They hate us. I mean, it's almost like I've always felt we're not supposed to be good. We're supposed to be the West that we were when we played, guys. Like, it's supposed to be get your 2 wins a year. You know, you're the homecoming game. They can't stand that West has become what West is, Ryan. I mean, that's the truth about it. I mean, they talk about, oh, they cheated because they have the IB program and anybody can go. Well, why didn't you guys think about it first then? Okay. And there's a lot of guys that played football at West that are lawyers and doctors and all sorts of things because they were entering college as sophomores instead of freshmen taking English 101. Why should we apologize for that? Kiss my rebel ass. How about that? Kiss my 3300 Sutherland Avenue ass. Honestly.
There you go.
So, I mean, it fires me up, man. It fires me up from a standpoint that it's like they don't even give us credit. Last year, all I heard about was, oh, West is going to lose this week. Well, we found a way to win. You know, oh, they're so bad. There's no way they can beat Page in that state championship. We found a way to win. They found a way to win 7 times in tight ball games.
One question. So when you've watched West in their wins, let's pose it to this, because I love college football and I love that Georgia and Alabama game.
Oh, that was a great game. We can talk
You
about
know,
that. Yeah.
we can talk about that. So just to segue to that, what do you think is more impressive with West wins compared to the losses? I think they let 2 losses.
2 losses. Yeah, 4-2 so far. Yeah.
I think you're looking at a team that should be 5-1.
Absolutely. No doubt.
No doubt.
Bearden played phenomenal, but there was many times Bearden gave it to us and we gave it right back to Bearden.
Yep.
So if we ever had to see those guys again, I think it's a little different outcome.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's a little different out. Like that game was too close. Like, it's a rivalry game. It's some of the best talent you're gonna see in West Knoxville. And so I just really think, like, what has been impressive about their wins compared to the losses?
Who are you asking that to, me or Ryan?
It's just a roundtable question. Like,
Shane, go
what's
first,
impressive
bud.
about the wins?
You go first.
Repeat it one more time.
Like what's impressive about the wins compared to what's impressive about the losses?
The wins, the offense is clicking like it should. The losses are getting into their head way too early and are trying to have the battle back. And we're going against the teams that they've had to battle back against. You don't have – it's almost like you've gashed yourself out in those losses before you can even get a chance to get in. That's why I've said we've got to be on their throat the whole time. But, I mean – besides the Marable loss, I mean, that's Marable on a revenge statement. But, that Bearden loss, I mean, they fought the whole time. That game was tight. But it's those key mistakes. Like, it's just like they didn't come out to play like they can play. But when they win convincingly, and this is West football.
Yeah, I mean, the crazy stat is that in 3 of their ball games, they've scored 38 points. Clinton, Farragut, and Heritage, that they've won. They've won, it seems like, the same margin against 3 teams that are inferior. I mean, and I don't mean that with disrespect to Farragut, but Farragut got, really walloped by Bearden the other night and so forth, too. And it's uncharacteristic to see that from a Farragut team. But that being said, I just, Shane talks about the offense. What I look at is just the tightness in some of these big games. Like, they're not loose. And it's okay. It is a big game, but you've been in many big games before. Maybe you weren't the guy out there starting. You lost some great teams, but be the guy. I mean, my goodness, I mean, let me just tell you this, Ryan. The ass whippings you took in practice from Zach Stewart and everything like that. If you got your ass whipped by Ryan Scott and C.J. Smith last year or the year before that, it's your time now to deliver those ass whippings. I mean, that's all I'm saying right there. But I mean that with all respect, that it's like, I almost feel that the games that, yes, they're not region games or Class 5A games, but I call them momentum games. It was like we won that Bearden game on that last second Hail Mary last year. That was a momentum game, and it got you to the Maryville game. Nobody expected you to go to the Black Hole and be the first Knox County team to beat them there since 1999, and you did it. That was a momentum game, and so you kept on going. And then you went to Alcoa, or then you played Alcoa. You were a little injured, banged up. Alcoa wins, and then you almost lose the following week to Anderson County. And you even had a little bit of a hangover against Halls and Powell because of that, but you won against Powell at the end, and that's what propelled you on your unbelievable, wonderful playoff run. So that's where I think this team is. I'm waiting for the big game win that propels them with that momentum, and I think that's what you're missing right now too, Pear. It's like you're winning against the teams you're supposed to, but the teams that it's that, if you win that one, that really puts a little lead in your pencil, if you get my drift. So that's what
I feel like Alcoa is watching. Like, I feel like Alcoa is watching this because they know that the target is on their back, but we're the hunted, but we've already been beaten. Like, and I feel like with watching that game film and knowing what West does bad, it's like I feel like we've got to be able to correct that on the field with those adjustments. And I think the coaches are putting those guys in position. It's just the execution of everything. It's like when West gets tempo, rhythm, they just play with a different style. They play with a different poise. And it's like, when are we going to see that against an upper echelon team? Like, I'm hoping we can see it Friday night. Like,
yeah,
I hate road games and I hate going to Alcoa.
Yeah.
No, let me take that back. I like Alcoa, but I don't know if I'm gonna make this road game.
Well, I got to do stats for it, so I'm going to be there. I'm going to be there doing stats. So yeah, I mean,
I want to make it, but
yeah.
oh man, driving out in Alcoa.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Well, Ryan, I mean, I
Love
wanted to
Alcoa,
ask you,
though.
I wanted to ask you, and Shane had another obligation he had to get to. So I want to thank him for being on and so forth. But Ryan, what I wanted to ask you, was there ever another game on your all schedule? I mean, obviously you were a powerful team, and there was the Marable game where you actually led before you all lost. But was
Right.
there another game on that schedule that maybe I'd almost say it was the South Doyle game? A lot of people, they were undefeated. You had that one by you, but they didn't have the schedule you guys had, and so
Right.
forth. And you did make those wins against 6A opponents look easy, but going into that game, everybody thought South Doyle had the home field advantage. They were mocking you with chant and that thing on the hill with the Undertaker's music playing. I mean, what made you guys get up for that game on the road, especially third round of the playoffs, and Mark Packer covering it obviously with the Rivalry Thursday playoff edition?
It's funny. We had there were two teams that we never really got to play that we had like unspoken rivalries with, and it was South Doyle and Fulton. We hated each other.
Yeah,
because that Fulton, the same year at Fulton, I think they won. They had like a three-peat.
They had a three-peat. They won 12, 13, and 14. Yes,
but we played them one time and we beat them. So they would always say we had three, but we would say, but you never beat us. So there was a lot of hate back and forth there. And then South Doyle was the same. So, it was just teams that had been together through Pee Wee, that we had played each other, that we knew each other, we hated each other. So they had a lot of hype, a lot of recognition at the time. And we, I think similarly to this team going into this week, like we felt disrespected. We felt like we deserved to be there. And I personally love being the underdog. Like I love that so much. I've always been a chip on my shoulder kind of guy. So you give me any reason to think that, people are looking down on us, not believing us. Like that hypes me up. So South Doyle was a big one, but Ray County was tough.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, they were undefeated too. Everybody, that's the thing. Like,
I
think people disrespected you guys. I mean, here's the other thing too that people don't realize. Central was just on the cusp of going on their run with Rozier as their coach. He was in his first year taking over Central. And, because Daniel Boone and Davy Crockett didn't know how to act in their rivalry game and had a fight, they both got suspended from the playoffs in two-pair. We thought Davy Crockett was coming down for another 60-0 thing. Instead, Central gets to go as a 4-6 team and gets a playoff bid to come to West for a first-round opponent. And Central wasn't a bad football team. And I mean, yes, the score was 40-0, but you guys had to work for that 40-0 against them. And you shouldn't have had that opponent as a first-round opponent. Just my thoughts or what have you about it. So yes, yeah.
But what your question was earlier about the wins and losses for this team, I think. On a positive note, I think the best teams are the teams that can win ugly. So I have a group of guys on this podcast saying like, we haven't seen this team play a complete game once or even close to it. And they're 4-2, should be 5-1. Still probably figuring themselves out a little bit, waiting for something to click, but push comes to shove, they're winning games. Like, the Bearden game, like should have been one of those that they eked out, but went the other way. So I'm excited to see kind of when those things fall into place, and ultimately come playoff time, you write your own destiny. So whatever you do in the season, working out the kinks, winning ugly, losing tough, whatever it is, you buy yourself a playoff berth and you write your destiny. So I think at the end of the day, like it's pretty crazy to think how far we've come, that we're looking at this season at this point and being like, they're not really there yet. Historically, this team would be like, man, they're like one of the best teams we've ever had. But at this point in time, we're looking at them, we're like, guys, step it up. Like, what are you thinking?
Two pair. Let's. You know what? I love that Ryan brings that up. Look how spoiled we are. Think about
It's
this.
crazy.
Because think about this.
Really
My junior year, your sophomore year, we went 4-6. So think about that. This team's already matched the win total of what it took all damn season that year. That's how far this program is. But that's a tribute to the guys. That's a tribute to the people that have put that work in. And I'm not saying this team is not putting the work in, but again, it's like you guys, when that aha moment comes on,
right,
I really want to be like, yo, that's what I want it to be. And here's the positive, two pair. Can I say this? I'm glad they haven't peaked yet. I'm glad they haven't. Because
you don't want to peak early. You do not want to peak early.
Nobody cares what you did in August or September. It's what you did at late October. And if you get to November, you might be one of them two teams standing in Chattanooga. And at that point, you're playing with house money. So that's how I like to look at it.
Yeah, definitely. It's crazy. Like, we were really spoiled, man.
We are spoiled. No,
I'm for real, man. I blame this on your class. You guys did this too.
Probably at least a little bit. We gotta.
You and 13. You and 13 definitely did.
Yeah.
You want to know something? Can I give? I'm going to give a shout out also.
Y'all really did.
I want to give a shout out to the 10 team though too, because damn it, they were a year before you. You were in 8th grade when that was going on. But that 10 team, to start out that season 2-2, get absolutely blown out by Farragut on Rivalry Thursday, and Coach Cummings just had a meltdown of meltdowns and basically just said, "I'm sick of losing. I'm sick of this." He basically kicked off a few players that didn't need to be there. They found the camaraderie, upset Bearden and Devrin Young, go out there and take it all the way to the coldest game I've ever attended and lose to Shaq Mason, who's still in the NFL, and Columbia Central the day after Thanksgiving. And a lot of people would say that 7-0 loss by West was the state championship game, because the following week they beat the hell out of whoever they played. And so West somehow finds a way to win that Columbia. You could have almost said that 2010 team pulls a state championship out of nowhere.
No doubt.
Yeah.
So, but that was a special team. Ivan Freeman, Christian Francis, George Bullock, all them boys on that team. Isaac, Isaac was on that team. Lakin was on that team. Chris Smith Jr., the milkman, J1, all them guys were on that team.
J1, man.
They were nasty.
Yeah, J1 was 2011, but still, they were on that 2010 team as juniors.
They had a nasty.
And I mean, the team's my freshman and sophomore year. The team that got put out of Powell, that was a really, really good team.
Yeah, because Robbie Flood was the running back. You had Chris Smith. You had
John Doty.
Yeah, Doty. Yep. I'm telling you,
I love John Doty. You
had Ryan Francis at quarterback at that time.
Ryan Francis.
Yes. Seth was a freshman running back on that team, by the way.
Oh yeah, the year before. Yeah.
The 2011.
Seth was the starting kick returner his freshman year.
He was, and he even housed one against Maryville, and he housed one against Maryville too.
Never forget it. Yeah, we lost our minds. That was that was wild.
Yeah, that's what I'm just saying. That that 2010 to 2015 years,
was a good stretch.
That was a stretch for West, honestly, unbelievable. And those banners are up there. 2010 state semifinalists, 2011 state semifinalists, 2012 you lost in the second round. That was a weird circumstance, but 2013 state finalist, runner up, and then 14 state champs. You have 4 of the 9 banners that are up there, in that stretch of. I mean, it's
crazy.
unbelievable.
That's crazy.
Unbelievable.
That is crazy. 4 of the 9.
4 of the 9.
Damn.
Yeah. And here's the other thing too.
Damn, y'all built something,
You-
bro.
you-
Y'all,
you
like,
did.
y'all really
You did.
built,
And
y'all built a program.
now, and I'm gonna
Helped
tell you
build a
this.
program.
We're gonna have next Tuesday, and I'm gonna do a little spoiler. Because it's fall break next week, so we don't have a game. But we are going to have an OG from the 94 state semifinalist team that lost to Eric Westmoreland in Marion County. And he was actually a coach on your staff or whatever. And he's going to be on next week. He's excited as hell. He showed me some pictures when he had hair and he played, and I'm going to embarrass the hell out of him. Of course, I don't have much on
You
top,
got
but
to.
yeah. But he's going to be on next week. I can't wait to have him on because he's got some stories from that 94 group. So if you want to know about the first banner that's all the way on that far end that stays there by themselves, that was there for 16 years alone until you guys started bringing stuff along the way. But, you know, he said it best. He said, I'm just surprised to be a part of 5 of the banners that are up there. And he's right. He's absolutely right. He, as a coach and a player, he was a part of 5 of those banners. So that's so you can't wait to tune in on that one next Tuesday night, 9:30, and hopefully we can come on time. You know, so that's my
Oh man, it's all good, man. We all working, man.
sure.
Oh my God,
working,
this hurricane's killing
like,
me, man. I'm telling you.
Like
So,
I was supposed to be playing my matchup in college football on this ESP on this EA college. I was supposed to be playing my matchup, but I was like, I gotta do this podcast.
Absolutely.
Podcast going to
no,
9:30, bro.
the cause never
Like,
stops, man.
Podcast come before the NCAA. I mean EA. I
Well,
call it NCAA.
and Ryan, I'm so glad that that you came on tonight, man. And you know, real quick, before we go, and I do want to make a prediction about the Rebels and the Alcoa game. I do want to just basically real quick talk about a little college football last week because you know what really bothers me. Like a lot of people are saying that like, oh, this is not a sexy week of matchups. You know, like you look at the docket. That's when the upsets happen. You know what I mean?
Yes.
And you had an upset last weekend. You could have had a few upsets if the ball goes certain ways and calls are made and things of that nature, no matter what side of the fence you stand on of those teams, whether you love to hate them or not. College football week 5 was absolutely incredible, from the Miami Virginia Tech game on Friday night to the Kentucky Ole Miss noon game. I mean, who would have thought Kentucky would have gone into Ole Miss and won the way they did? And then the Alabama Georgia game, everything that could have happened in that game
did happen.
I mean, my God.
Crazy.
And so, you know, what were your guys' thoughts? I mean, what stands out to you about last week? And we could talk an hour about that Georgia Alabama game, but the thing that stands out to me the most is sometimes our 5 stars are better than your 5 stars, but sometimes there's a kid that makes a name for himself in that game every time, and it just happens to be at wide receiver. Devonta Smith, anybody? So I'm just saying, like, and George is always on the wrong end of it, it seems like. But go ahead. What are your all's thoughts? I mean, what did you all think about
the things that Ryan Williams was doing was just outlandish. I mean, just making stuff up, like unreal. I just, 17 years old, by the way. Like, that's
crazy.
Nuts. I mean, you know, Two-Pair, real quick, what I was going to say more than anything, I couldn't believe. I mean, did you see those Alabama fans when Georgia took the lead? Like, I mean, you could hear a pin drop. It was a party in that first half. I mean, you knew that Georgia was going to come back, but let me tell you something. You have to be an exceptional team to come back from 28-0 when they score 4 straight drives and your offense can't do shit. I mean, they couldn't do shit.
Wild.
And I've never seen Georgia and Bama struggle running the ball against each other.
Yeah.
I mean, realistically, is it the defensive lines that were better, or was this the offensive lines just not what the par of what those teams are used to? I mean, I don't know. Or the running back caliber not as good? What was your thoughts? I mean, I'd love your thoughts, Ryan, as an offensive lineman, because I was like trying to figure it out. Alabama used to have like 4 or 5 guys that could give you 5 or 6 yards a clip. And it's Milroe that's not only their quarterback, he's their whole run game. And you don't see that out of Alabama. I'm sorry, you just don't.
Yeah. Well, another shout out to Kevin Day to make my point on this. He referred to the offensive lineman as Team Mushroom. And he would say, because they put us in the corner, they feed us shit, leave us in the dark, and expect us to grow.
I like that.
I'm going to put it Team Mushroom. I'm going to put it on the back of the big dogs on the offensive line. Like, if you handle your business as an offensive lineman, everything else will settle itself.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
I'm just shocked. I mean, I just like you see Alabama get these 5-star running backs or whatever, but man, they just don't have that same ability that the Najee Harrises or the ones that you're kind of used to. And I'm not an Alabama fan by any stretch of the imagination, but here's the thing. You got to respect greatness and the fact that they had that type of talent where you lost a guy and you brought another dude right afterwards. Same with the offensive line and everything. But I mean, but those two teams went at it. And I mean, credit Georgia for even battling back and getting into that position. And realistically, they had a chance to win it at the end if he doesn't throw an interception. I mean, they kept going to the well one too many times. And that cornerback made a sensational interception. He was like, stop picking on me. And he made him pay. They go to the other side. Maybe Georgia pulls out win number 41 in a row in the regular season. It's crazy to think.
Yeah,
so.
That's just wild. It was just what an atmosphere that had to be.
Oh man, that's what makes college football better than
that's
NFL.
What makes college football.
I'm sorry.
Yeah,
That's just
that's what makes college football.
Yeah. I mean, give me college football any day. And I know that the NIL is kind of ruined
give me
some
college
things,
football any day of the week.
Any day. I mean, that's the type of matchups. And I was just thinking about this, guys. You're going to get more of these matchups coming up with this bloodbath of an SEC. I mean, you got what, 5 out of the top 10 teams in this. I mean, it's ridiculous. And look at what Georgia's got in 2 weeks. They got Texas in 2 weeks, and you don't know which quarterback it's going to be. But Texas, Sarkisian's built a team built for the SEC. You got Tennessee and Arkansas this week that could be a trap game. Pittman's fighting for his life. I think Tennessee wins easily, but I'm just saying. But how many times has Arkansas been a thorn in Tennessee's side when Tennessee's had the better team? Kind of like Miami and Virginia Tech. Virginia Tech always plays Miami tough, no matter what. And you look at Tennessee and Arkansas always bothers Tennessee. Every time. It took a stumble by Clint Sterner tripping over Bulworth's ankle to give that 98 team life to go to that national championship.
Thank you.
Sterner stumbled.
Sterner stumbled.
Yeah, I mean,
thank you in the heavens. Like, God rest his soul.
Yeah.
But if there was a foot to trip over, you tripped over a great, like, God bless your soul for letting us get one.
Yeah. Houston probably still has nightmares about it, to be honest with you. Old Coach Houston nuts.
To this day, like, dude, Arkansas literally could have beat us in need. It was a rainy game. It was horrible. Yeah. I remember watching that as a kid, thinking to myself, man, we are going to lose to Arkansas at home.
Well, and do you remember this? The following year? People don't remember this, but the 99 team had the stumble in the swamp, which Tennessee team hasn't, but they were in prime position in the BCS for a rematch with Florida State, and realistically, they lost in Fayetteville, and then the wheels came off.
They did. Yeah,
I mean, that's the thing.
They lost in Fayetteville, and then they lost in Nebraska.
Yeah, Nebraska killed them in that Fiesta Bowl.
They went to the Fiesta Bowl 2 years in a row.
2 years in a row. Yeah, because remember, it switched because the championship game was Florida State against Vic and Virginia Tech in the Sugar Bowl.
Sugar Bowl. Yeah. That's right.
But still, Tennessee was in prime position, even with the one loss, because their strength of schedule was better than Virginia Tech's. Virginia Tech got there because them and Florida State were the only 2 undefeated teams left. That just a little history lesson there. So I'm just saying that Tennessee should win. but it may not be as easy. And it's a night game in Fayetteville. And the night games in the SEC, I don't care who you are, they're tough, honestly.
They are very tough.
So. And
Yeah,
Arkansas is not
that's gonna
trash.
be
They
the
got a
game.
good mobile quarterback. They got some talent, but realistically, Pittman is really fighting for his job. And this is the type of game that would save his job if he's able to knock off number 4 Tennessee under the lights on ESPN. I mean, I'm just saying.
If Arkansas beats Tennessee, oh my god,
that'd be brutal.
It would be brutal. No, I couldn't handle it.
It would be brutal.
Yeah. Well,
like,
I mean,
and it could happen, but I feel like a bit overrated. Like I hate when we're getting the love from the media.
Yeah.
See, it's like, damn, like please underrate them.
It's wild. It either doesn't happen at all or it happens way too quick all at once.
Always.
No in between.
But can I tell you guys this though? Look at that though. You know what that means? Marquee name. Okay. How long have they been wanting Nebraska to be back? I mean, and who gives? I mean, Nebraska, there's nothing there, but they have that history of football. Miami, they want the U back. They need the villain. Tennessee has always been that good old boy team that was fun to watch. Peyton Manning, all that. They want those marquee names back, and they're starving for them. I mean, even if Notre Dame gets a glitter in their ass, I mean, honestly, I mean, my goodness, and I'm no Notre Dame fan for God's sakes, but I'm just saying that they want that back. And you're right, there's a price to pay. The one thing that I will say about this Tennessee team, though, is, and I mean this with all my heart, they're different. There's something different about them. And Nico's is not your ordinary redshirt freshman. You've got a defense now. You're not just outscoring teams. And you give Heupel 2 weeks to prepare. I mean, they're coming off of a bye week. Maybe got some guys healed up that had some dings from that Oklahoma battle. I'm just saying they should roll some ass, But here's the thing. But in 3 weeks, it's serious business when you're talking about Alabama.
For sure.
And
that's going to be a fun game.
That game day. Yes.
Neyland. That's it. If that's Neyland at night.
Neyland at night. That's going to be Kirk Herbstreit, Chris Fowler, 7:30 ABC. Pat McAfee. Corso could be the last time coming to Knoxville. I mean, saying, it's like it's got to happen. And Tennessee takes care of business in Arkansas. They owe one to the Gators next week here. I mean, I'm just saying that it's prime for them to meet up.
It's a perfect setup.
Yeah, it's a perfect setup for a 1 versus 2. It's possible. It's very possible.
I feel like that old line with Tennessee, the way they keep protecting Nico and the way they've been, like, Tennessee's shown us they can win in different ways.
Yes.
Like they can play ugly or they can really crank it up in tempo. You know what I'm saying? And get the ball to the skills players. Now, I wish we pushed the ball down the field more, but a win is a win. If they win 6-0, I'm happy.
You want to know something too, Per? And I'm a firm believer in this. I think we've only seen maybe 12% of what this offense can do, and they're going to save something for Bama. They really are. I
feel like they are.
And I'll tell you this: Nico's twice the quarterback Carson Beck is. Twice the quarterback. And realistically, I would be very shocked. And here's the thing. I think Tennessee's running game is better than what, because Georgia's had some injuries. They didn't have their big back who's been injured, the guy from UCLA. Etienne is a good scat back, but he can't run between the tackles.
He's not a
type of running back. He's the Lightning, and Roderick is the Thunder, and he's been injured all year pretty much. So, yeah, that's the difference of Georgia's running game and Tennessee's. Tennessee does have a true Thunder and Lightning, so they really do. Right. So, yeah. But all right, guys. So we're finishing up the show. Ryan, thank you again for being on, man.
Yeah, man.
Spending the time with us. You're welcome. Listen, I told Nate, you guys are welcome anytime. And you want to know something? It's always fun. But Paul Romero was on. I know he was a teacher back in the day, and he's the athletic director. We love old Paul Romero. Paul, said that in his opinion, the 2022
we would have beat them.
I knew it.
I don't care what Mr. Romero says. I don't care if he says it's a more complete team. They could not stack up with the athletes we had. There is no chance they beat us, Mr. Romero.
Yeah,
No.
I'm telling you, we're gonna have that debate. We are gonna. I mean, I'm going to like
he
break
still
it down.
Romero really
He told
really
me.
does
He told me
believe-
word for word at the championship game
Yes.
that they would have beat us.
Well, here's the thing. Romero said this.
No
Romero
chance.
said this. Romero said Nathan Cottrell is the best player to ever come out of West. Okay, but the best team is the 2022 group or what have you.
I mean, I would say they were a more complete team than we were. I will honestly say that, but they did not have the caliber of guys we did.
Do you want to know something? Do you know what matchup is it would be my favorite to watch?
What's that?
Your O line against their D line. Like
bring it on.
I would have loved to have seen it. And then on the other side of it, Bacon, Birch, Pridemore, and Umar matched up with Marshawn. Let me see here.
Locked down.
Ran was Jaquarius Ran, Caden Latham, and Six Ford. I mean, that four against that four.
You don't have time to. You got Foxy coming off the corner. I mean, come on now. It's over. Like it's done. And they hadn't played against the Veer. They wouldn't have known what to do with that.
Yeah. Well, and I'll tell you this. Carl Lovato and Ryan Scott with collisions against Marshall and Nate and Romines. And you want to know something? A lot of people don't remember this. Ryan, I can't think of his name, and I loved him because he really only played 2 years because he was more of a soccer player. Who was Noah's best friend that was in that backfield as well at times, and he also played defense?
Oh, Des. Yeah,
Desmond, baby.
Hey,
he was the Thunder.
Came up strong on the second half of the season.
Yes, he did. And
in
he'd only played organized football for 2 years. His dad played football. He was a soccer guy, and he joined. So a lot of people forget about Dez.
Talking
and
about
a lot
unsung heroes.
Forget about
Dez
Boom
Johnson.
Buchanan. But Boom is known for being as a wide receiver, but Boom started off as a running back next to Nate. They wanted as much speed on the backfield before Boom moved to wide receiver. So number one. So yeah, I mean, so like I said, it's a fun debate. We're all brothers at the end of it, but damn, it's one of those like classic games on NCAA, like who is the best team to like have a match.
I'll never be convinced otherwise.
Yeah.
They'd probably say the same thing.
I'll tell you this, they probably do say the same thing, and the staffs would have had a hell of a chess match against each other. I mean, you talk about two great staffs, and you have a couple of guys that were on both staffs, like that would be the thing. So, but anyway, hey, listen, it's all in good fun, but let's talk real quick. But you're invited back anytime. I just want you to know that. But,
absolutely.
Absolutely. But, let's predict it. Listen, there's 2 games I want to predict, by the way. The Thursday night game is Maryville versus Bearden. It's at Bearden. A lot of people are saying this is going to be for that first seed in that 6A region. These are 2 teams that have beaten West and so forth. It's going to be the game on Thursday night. My question is, who do you each think will win that game and why Thursday night? Maryville at Bearden. Ryan, I'll let you go first, bud.
Maryville.
Really? Just like that?
Maryville.
Quick. Yeah.
Yep. No doubt.
Yeah.
No doubt.
I'm with him on that too.
I'm gonna tell you this, man. I think between you and me, and I could be wrong, and Ryan, you'll be watching next week, obviously, when we have our guest.
Yep.
If I'm wrong, I'm the first to come on here and say I was wrong. Okay, but I really think this Maryville Revenge Tour is a real thing, and I think they're about to bust that ass.
I'm saying
they could not stand losing to Bearden last year.
Maybe 35-10.
I'd say that. I'd say it's comparable to what the West Bearden score was. I think it's like 42-14. I really believe that. Yeah, especially if they take care of the ball and Bearden still has some of their guys out or whatever. I think Maryville not only will outcoach them, but just beat them. And if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. Simple as that, honestly. So, yeah. And then to our game, which is kind of funny that the 2 better Knox County teams just happen to be playing the 2 best Blount County teams. I guess that was a schedule on purpose, but Friday night, West goes to Alcoa. 2-pair, I'll let you go first, man. What is your thoughts of who wins and why?
I mean, I think they can win. I I don't know if they think they can win. Like I don't know. Like I don't know if the swagger is there right now. Like it's a team that's trying to prove everybody wrong, and it's like, can they put together a complete ball game where you can rest assured? And I don't know if that happens Friday out there. I really don't. I'm hoping it does, because I say my alma mater is going to win every time.
Absolutely.
Like you're never going to hear me say we're not going to win. But this game's got me torn, because Alcoa is impressive.
They are impressive.
And we haven't looked like what we were supposed to look like, because they got Eli Owens, they got Jameer Dean, they got
Congress Cherry, they got athletes, they got
guys.
Dudes. So yeah,
they got some dudes. Like it's real over there. And
they would love nothing
City.
more. They would love nothing more.
They would love nothing more than to spank us like we stole something. So
that's true.
Yeah,
I think if Alcoa does win, I would say it would be kind of convincingly. Like I don't know if we can get into a dog fight. Like, are we nasty enough on defense to get in a dog fight? Like, are we that nasty enough to go toe to toe with them at their place?
I agree.
That's the question I ask.
Yeah, and I think the problem is, I don't know if we can withstand a shootout. Yeah. So it's either a dogfight or nothing.
Right.
Make it ugly. Make it ugly.
It's gotta be ugly. I think we only win if it's ugly.
Do you want to know why I've stressed so much about the upfront game for West? We always have done well, whether you run the veer or the pistol, whatever their offense is. If you can run the ball and control the clock, that makes a team that is high, scoring. It kind of messes their flow up, their pace. And realistically, I just feel if West can run the ball, and that offensive line steps up to the challenge, you could make that a 4-quarter game. And the longer you stay in it, it might mess with them. I mean, with Ryan, do you have a thought or a prediction, like real quick? Like, who do you think, West or Alcoa on Friday? I mean, it's tough for us to pick against our team, but at the same time, there's evidence there. That's
right. Never gonna pick against the team.
For sure. So.
I'm gonna say it's gonna be a dogfight. I'm gonna say if we keep it under 30, then like a 21-28.
You want to know something? I like that. I could see something like that. I could even see 21-14. Like I could see like the Bearden game before the overtime made that score a little bit higher. Yeah. If West protects the football, West should win the game. I think whoever has more turnovers and can control their I think Alcoa's problem too. How's that game going to be called by the refs? Penalties, is Alcoa going to get away with some stuff or what? I'm not trying to insinuate anything, but realistically, but Alcoa at times their players make stupid plays, maybe get an unsportsmanlike. And what does West do? Do they take advantage? But you can't feed into the trash talk. You've got to play sound football and not let those refs target you. I mean, you have to play a perfect game to win. I don't think Alcoa blows West out, but I've got Alcoa winning by 10 points. I'm going to go 24-14 Alcoa. That's what I'm going to go. So, yeah. But we'll see.
Like,
talk about it next week.
What other school podcasts where the guys from their school give it to you truthful?
That's it.
Right.
For sure.
Like
that's it. So
it's truthful. Like, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It pains us to say that we're gonna lose anytime.
Yeah.
Like,
listen, I hope they prove me
prove
wrong.
Us wrong.
And they can spit in my face after the game, because you know what? That spit will feel a lot better with that W over there, because you want to know something? If West does pull it off, that scoreboard going to go off real quick over there. Just saying, that scoreboard going to go real quick off. So get your picture ready when there's like 5.0 seconds, because it ain't going to be up there long with 0.0 if West somehow pulls that off. So, and I'll tell you this, I'll send a fruit basket to Jesse Smitty and 5-star preps.
Got
Honestly, so got
Got
to.
to.
He loves Wes, doesn't he? So
Oh
he
yeah,
loves.
he's always been our biggest fan. No, it's
He has. So.
He's
Oh, and
always
real
been
quick,
our biggest
and
fan.
real quick to end that story about the William
man.
Blunt
Jesse's a
shellacking.
great guy, man.
Oh,
Jesse's
he's
great.
listen, what that man does for high school football and the
For sure.
coverage he gives, I mean, we would have loved something like that 20
Yeah.
something years ago.
Hey,
But I mean,
I feel like
Man, he
Jesse
used to give us so much
predicted
shade
and
back in the
Jerome-
day.
he did though, dude. He predicted you guys to only win 21-16, and you beat the hell out of William Blunt 70-14 that
And then
game.
somehow every year against Hardin Valley, we were like they thought we were going to lose by like 21 every time we played Hardin Valley.
Well,
made
because you
no
didn't have
sense to me.
heart. You were Tin Men. He'd
That's
take his
fair.
players over yours any
And
day. or
and
whatever
injured
like
and
that.
injured Nathan that wasn't going to play. You know, we
Oh,
just.
that's still one of the best stories ever. I hope our guest talks about that story next
Oh
week.
yeah, no, he
because
will.
That
he will,
is
no
because he's
doubt.
not affiliated with that school no more, so he don't have no loyalty to them. So,
Yeah.
but
And
he had to be very careful.
Ask him about when he used to let me do running back for pre-practice.
Okay, I will have.
Yeah,
to
we were
do
trying
that.
to have a goal line package, but Coach Cummings never let it happen. He didn't want me to get hurt.
Oh, dude. Well, you know what? And then Powell tried to do that with Walter Nolan. Go figure. You know what I mean? Who's now playing defensive line for Ole Miss. So go figure. Yeah. Ryan, brother, love you, man. Listen, keep doing your thing, helping these kids and helping adults. Anything that you do, I hope that you get to adopt that or foster that child because they will be so blessed to have your guidance and just be a part of your family. And brother, you're welcome anytime. And keep doing your cause, man. Love you, man.
Appreciate it.
Honestly.
Thank y'all so much for having me.
You bet.
Man,
Go
thank
Rebels.
you.
Go Rebels. And listen, we're going to finish it up like we always do. Two pair, you close us out. But hey, Ryan, I know you guys used to do the one, but now we throw up that W. So you got to
we
throw
throw
up
the
that
W.
W, baby.
I can't throw up the one.
You throw up
Yeah,
the
you
one
throw up the one.
for the OG, but you got to throw up
I
that
got
W,
stuff.
baby, because that's what it's all about right
Yeah.
there. So.
Oh, so they used to throw this up.
No,
It
was just like a soft one.
No, it was just a solid one, and they would
Always.
put the ring on their one. Like that's how they would do it.
Every time. One's
every
up.
time.
We throw the ones up today still.
It was me that
so-
kind of like accentuated the W because of the U thing. I said, let's do the W. And so it's kind of taken off a little bit, but the one was cool too, but it's just about that W, man. It's just so cool.
That dub,
baby.
crazy,
That W.
man.
So,
you can have variations with it.
That's it. So, yeah, for sure. So, but two pair close us out as we end another great episode of The Cause.
Hey, man, it was a great episode. We had a legend from a legendary team.
Yeah, we did.
Man, blessed to be in your presence, Ryan. Like, thank you so much, Ryan Perry, on our show. Like, the calls don't stop, man. Even when the clock says 0, like the calls doesn't stop. And shout out to the Rebels for donating to everyone up in Greenville.
Absolutely.
I forgot to talk about that, man. So we're Rebels with a cause.
If you haven't donated, still donate. Look it up. Look up the West social media. They'll tell you how to donate and get it taken care of because this has been devastating. And guys, this isn't over anytime soon. They're still finding things. So, like I said, I always say, love each other, be good to one another, and pray for one another. And during these crazy times that we live in. So, but go Rebels, baby.
Go Rebels.
Go Rebels.
Much love, y'all.
All right.